I built a bunch of like raised beds, and last spring we decided to get chickens, so I built like a chicken area. We got a chicken coop back there, so we have seven laying hens right now. And I just mess around and watch, like, everything on TV is such garbage these days. I just watch YouTube now, and I was watching a bunch of chicken videos about egg laying chickens, and then like a bunch of stuff kept popping up about raising meat chickens, and I was like, man, I think we could do it. And I built another chicken coop, and a couple months ago we ordered 10 little baby chicks, these Cornish cross hens, and they grow to market weight in like 2 months.
Sean Dustin spent time in federal and state prison for drug trafficking and fraud. Upon release in 2006, he had nothing but the clothes on his back, a bag of mail, and legal paperwork. In 2010, he kicked a long-time methamphetamine habit and started the long climb back up the ladder of life. This is the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast. If you want transparency and authenticity, you're in the right place. This is the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast, and this is Sean Dustin.
What's up? This is the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast, and I am your host, Sean Dustin. This is your first time joining me, listening, watching. Welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. It's good to have you with us this evening. This is the second live stream I have this evening, and I have one more for you after this at 8 p.m. Stay tuned for that one as well. If you like the streaming app I'm using, head over to the show notes or the description, and my affiliate link is down there. You'll get $10 credit for signing up, and I will also get some money too when you sign up for a paid subscription. That will help support the show. If you like what I'm creating and you want to help support what I'm doing, head on over to Patreon. I've got a couple of things to do. I've just got my tiers and everything else lined up over there, so it was a little bit kind of jumbled in the beginning, but it's worked itself out now, and that's great. So you can support the show there. You can also support the show in a lot of free different ways, which is on the, right now, if you're watching from YouTube, do me a favor, subscribe in the corner and then thumbs the video up. If you're on Facebook, go ahead and like it and then share it. If you're on the podcast platforms, do me a favor and subscribe. When you subscribe, that also makes me a lot more visible on the podcast platforms themselves, which people get to discover the show. It's up on the top of all of the searches and everything else. So that also helps. Clubhouse. I'm on Clubhouse weekly, Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern time. I co-host with Maria Daniels from the Successfully Chaotic podcast. It's a room that we started for podcasters to come and hang out and get to know each other, share, if you're looking for guests, stuff like that. Also, if we have questions, you can get answers there, whether it's from tech, monetizing, marketing, branding, etc. That's a good place to go. A lot of cool people there, a lot of people that I know. And I'd like to shout out my new Patreon subscribers for this month, Carlos Baisden and Joy Barcroft. Joy also gave a generous donation as well to the show, so thank you very much. I appreciate that. The show appreciates that as well. And let's get to my guests this evening. Let me get that StreamYard off there. So my guests this evening are a duo from an alternative media podcast that I like. And I found them through another show that I like and follow and have watched quite a bit. It's Debra Gets Red Pilled. And I have the hosts from that. And I'm going to bring them in here. Adam.
What's going on?
And Debra.
Hey there.
How are you guys?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, man. Thanks for coming out and hanging out with me this evening. I was on your show in mid-December, I believe.
Yeah. You've been on twice, kind of.
Yeah, kind of. Okay, cool. I don't remember this the second time. But
Second time's when we did that group Zoom thing.
Oh, yeah. That's right. I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
I do so many of these things. Sometimes they all run together. But the reason why I wanted to have you guys on, not only because I was on your show, but I love your show and I love the dynamic between you two. And explain that. First of all, what does Debra get red pilled even mean? And how did this come to be?
Do you want to go, Debra, or you want me to do it?
You go. You're the one steering this bus, so.
All right. So yeah, Debra is my mother-in-law, and I'm married to her daughter, and I'm an unhinged conspiracy theorist, and she is someone who's traditionally trusted mainstream media and the Democratic National Party for the majority of her life, and starting a few years back when I felt comfortable enough to do it, I just kind of started trolling her with different Instagram stuff and sending her texts, like just pointing out the hypocrisy of what was going on politically with the people that she hated versus the people that she loved. And I love podcasts, and I was like, man, maybe I could start a podcast. I just don't want to be one of these other conspiracy podcasts where it's just two or three people, in the same room agreeing with each other. That'd be awesome if I could do one with her and just like expose her to all this stuff, and maybe it would work. And it kind of did. So
what's your take on it, Debra?
Never thought I'd find myself sitting here doing a podcast. I didn't even know what a podcast was. And the things that Adam was sending me early on, I was just like, what the hell? What are you talking about? You're insane. You're absolutely insane. And never thought that I could be convinced otherwise than, my party were the good guys and the other party were the not such good guys. And I've been exposed to all sorts of stuff, and he's very persuasive, and the people that we've been talking to know what they're talking about, yourself included. And so he's chipping away. He's doing a good job chipping away.
Yeah, well, that's good. Because you're from my area. You're in my neck of the woods. You're over in Marin, which is probably about 45 minutes from me without traffic. So it's not too far, but it's an affluent area. It's they think in a certain way, and everybody's it's kind of a big old echo chamber over there.
It is absolutely at least the people that I encounter, for the most part, think and believe similarly to, how I think or thought and believed. So, yeah, it is an echo chamber as well. Good way to put it.
And how are you dealing with that? I mean, are you coming around? Does stuff make sense? Or is it like...
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's definitely a process. I kind of straddle the line. I've been hearing a lot of information that is new to me. And it's, it is a process. You can't just like jump in with both feet, especially, with I was going to say with political subject matter, but it's true of just about everything. If you've been brought up thinking a certain way, like the earth is round, you can't just hear somebody's version of it being otherwise, and just go, okay, it's flat. I've been wrong all these years. You gotta digest it and regurgitate it and digest it again, and so on and so on. So I'm in that process. Sometimes it feels really uncomfortable, and sometimes it just is, this is the way the world is, and it's never what you are convinced it is. There's always more to learn out there, and there's a bazillion ways to get your eyes opened. And I'm dipping my toes in.
Well, I think it's awesome that you at least are trying. You're at least open to listening to other types of stuff like that.
Well,
yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I don't think she realizes it. Is that most people that on either side of the aisle. I don't have a side of the aisle. I know I'm biased a little bit one way more than the other, but I'm not really trying not to let politics rule my life and live outside that system. But for anybody to be challenged, or have everything that they believed in forever, just torn down right in front of them, most people will just freak out and not be able to listen or see the other side of things. And I don't think Debra realizes that her being able to do that is not the norm at this time of history, and one of the main things that I really want to try to kind of uncover on the show in the future is why are some people open to just open to different opinions and some people aren't, and why are some people willing to change their mind and look at things that haven't been what's been told to them for their whole lives, and I feel like I'm one of those people, and I want to know why some people can't,
Yeah, how some people have a hard time, like you said, wrapping your head around something. Even I had David Weiss on, and I know you've had him on your show, and that was a good analogy to bring up, because I have the hardest time with that, because I want to believe that everything that I see, the CGI and all of that, I want to believe that that's real. I want to believe that Will Smith documentary or with the astronauts, I want to believe that that's real, right? Because that's cool. The way that it was done and the way that they showed it. I mean, but I don't know. I mean, unless I can go up and see for myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's maybe you are right.
Yeah.
Maybe they aren't. It's so confusing that it's just easier sometimes to just screw it. I don't even want to think about it. Yeah.
It's funny that you want to believe that it's round and I want to believe that it's flat. I don't have, I'm not deep enough in to definitively say, but I say I'm constantly 2 months away from being a full-blown flat earther. So,
So what do you think of the Mars rover?
You're talking to me?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with that.
It landed on Mars today.
I haven't seen anything
or it was
about it.
Supposed to. I didn't follow up. I haven't seen any news, but it was scheduled to land on Mars today.
Oh,
I saw it. They didn't really show it. They showed like fake stuff, not the real thing, but something it's simulating it, what it's doing.
They showed claymation.
Yeah, claymation. It looked like the
California raisins were driving it.
but yeah, I mean, supposedly it's been on its way there since the 70s, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is just, it's okay, whatever. I mean, I don't believe. I'm not really leaning anyway. I mean, because at this point, who knows? You know, who knows what the truth is? Until I can see it myself, then I'll specifically say, yes, I believe this, or yes, I believe that. And I don't think that will ever come about because I don't have the kind of money that will take me up to the first flight. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one that, like, it's weird to me that people get so tribal and defensive about that one, you know? Like, for most people, like, if they just think about it, I know it's a bigger deal than just the shape. It has to do with the lie and why the lie and all that stuff. But, like, if you bring that up with people, they get mad, you know?
They do, yeah. And a lot of the times that it has come up in conversation, for me, the people that I'm having the conversation with are like, what? I've never heard of that. How can that be? I mean, it's a concept that has not even touched them. And, you know, I probably was that way too, the first time I heard it. But
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a comment. People act so passionate about what they believe, but none of us are even close to knowing 1% of what's real.
Yeah.
yeah.
Our reality is inverted. I believe that. I believe that, you know, there's a podcast, What's Up is Down. I believe that there's a lot of that. You know, what's left is right. What's up is down. What you think is in front of you is actually behind you.
Yeah.
Even I was just talking about this in the last show I was doing. Even in our own subconscious, you know, we're doing one thing up here and looking out the window or the whatever you want, the front window, the windshield, and our subconscious is really taking the wheel and driving us and is the mechanism driving everything, and we're just kind of like following along. But we think that we're the ones that are actually doing it, but we're not.
Yeah.
That's a little deep.
Well, I think we've all had that experience, though, where you're on the road and all of a sudden you go, wait a second. How did I get here? I haven't been paying it. Where was I? I was not driving the car.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So, Adam, you and I, we'll get back to some of this in a second, but you and I kind of share the same background. We both struggled with addiction, and we're knuckleheads in a period in our life.
Yeah. I was lucky enough that I didn't end up going to prison like you, but I was well on my way. And yeah, I've been sober for, I think I just checked. I totally I tried to think of what my sobriety date was, and I couldn't even remember. So I think that means like that you're doing it right. It's like when that's like not that big of a deal. And I remember, so I've been sober for 8.5 years, since July of 2012, I think. And yeah, I struggled, you know, with alcoholism mostly. I did whatever was around, but you know, just I ruined my life really well with just cheap, light yellow American beer. You know, that did it for me. So, but yeah, you know, I got sober in the rooms of AA in the Bay Area, first in Marin County, and then in Oakland, and ultimately in San Francisco. I moved up to Oregon a couple years ago and did AA for a while up here, and it turned AA was turning really, really woke, like a lot of social justice warrior ideology had crept into the rooms of AA, and it just kind of turned me off and made me feel not welcome. So I haven't really been going to AA. I know you can do Zoom meetings now. I think some places they have in-person meetings, but not very much. But I haven't done it for the past few years, but I'm still sober and try to live my life in a way that kind of reflects the teachings of AA, which is just don't be a piece of shit and be nice to people. So, you know, sometimes I struggle with it, but I'm doing okay, I think, you know. So, you know, even though I don't do it anymore, if anybody ever came to me and was like, "Hey man, I need help. I can't stop drinking," I'd recommend the rooms of AA to them. I'll always be grateful to it, even though I don't do it anymore. And all the good stuff in my life, my wife and my little dogs and my house, and is all stuff that I never imagined that I could have. Good job. So yeah.
Yeah, you really actually did land a good job. That's one of the top, at least down in my area, in the Bay Area. It's one of the top trades.
Yeah.
If you can get in there, you're doing good.
Yeah. Shout out to Local 8 San Francisco elevator constructors. That's where I started, and now I'm currently in Local 23 Portland elevator constructors. So I was a union iron worker as well in Iron Workers 377 San Francisco. So shout out to those guys too.
Yeah, your apprenticeship hall for the iron workers was right around the corner from my union, up in Benicia.
Yeah, it's a cool place. That's how I learned how to weld. I got my welding certifications there, and actually I think I got those at the San Francisco hall. But yeah, that's where we went to school and spent a lot of time wandering around, trying not to get yelled at that place. So
that's cool. So living up in Oregon, I know that you've kind of you're growing your own food now. You've got chickens and stuff like that, or is that what you're trying to work towards?
So we live in a little working class suburb, a couple miles over the border to Portland, called Milwaukee, and it's a really nice little quiet town. I have a really great house. I love it. Coming from Oakland and San Francisco, I was kind of resigned to the fact that I was never ever going to get to own a house in some place that I wanted to live, and that was kind of why we first decided to come up here. And I got an old house from the 40s. It's got like a decent sized backyard, but nothing special. And it was kind of like an overgrown mess when I moved in, and I just worked really hard. I have 3-day weekends every week, and I just worked really hard. And it's kind of like a little. It's not much of a paradise, but I really enjoy it back there. And I built a bunch of like raised beds, and last spring we decided to get chickens. So I built like a chicken area. We got a chicken coop back there. So we have seven laying hens right now. And I just mess around and watch, like, everything on TV is such garbage these days. I just watch YouTube now. And I was watching a bunch of chicken videos about egg laying chickens, and then like a bunch of stuff kept popping up about raising meat chickens, and I was like, man, I think we could do it. And I built another chicken coop, and a couple months ago we ordered 10 little baby chicks, these Cornish cross hens, and they grow to market weight in like 2 months. And I think 2 weekends ago, my wife and I and another friend slaughtered and processed them in the backyard, and it was pretty cool. I get a kick out of, like, I think like our city probably allows us to have like 5 chickens or whatever, so I'm always gonna try to push the limits and do something that's not allowed. And the first time was a learning process. It was a long day, but everything went well. I shrink wrapped them. I got like all these plucked chickens that look like they came from the store. They're like monster size, so we got to like figure out how to feed them in a more responsible way, because they're bred just to eat. They're bred to get to market weight like super fast. So one of them was like 9 pounds. It looks like as big as a turkey, like a small turkey. Wow. So I think like if you get a whole chicken at the supermarket, it's like 4 pounds or something like that. So yeah, I got 68 pounds of meat out of 10 chickens. So pretty high average.
Yeah, that's cool. And, I was watching something on Netflix the other day. It was about one of these movies, these documentaries about food and the food that we're eating and everything else. And it's like, really the only way out of that is to either grow your own, raise your own, or, otherwise you're, from the hormones and the antibiotics that are fed to all farm animals, all of that stuff. I mean, it's all bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And just like I mean, I'm always going to eat meat, but just like the ethical treatment of like a Foster's Farms chicken is pretty horrible as well too, like
terrible. Yeah.
Like it's weird. There's a difference between like my laying chickens have like little personalities and are like fun to be around. Those meat birds are like kind of gross, and all they do is just eat and drink water. They drink like 5 gallons of water a day, like 10 of them would. And but yeah, I mean they stayed in the coop the whole time because it was cold. But I ordered like 16 more. I'm gonna do it again, but I've decided only to do it in warm months, so they're gonna be able to be outside. And I built like these little chicken tractors, so they're going to be able to graze on the grass every day. So
that's cool, man. Yeah, there's my buddy Robert. He said after this spontaneous Texas ice storm, it appears that even those of us out in the country are ill prepared for what could come or would come.
Yeah, I hear that. I heard Texas is pretty rough right now. We just had a huge ice storm up here too. I got all excited because I thought it was going to snow, and it's still kind of like, I lived in, Bay Area for 25 years. So when it snows every once in a while up here, I get kind of excited, but it was like an ice storm. It was like frozen rain. And then, there's people still, it was last Thursday and Fridays when it happened. And there's still people, we got lucky. We didn't lose power. And there's still people like on like every street around us haven't had power the whole time, and we somehow got really lucky and like haven't lost power. So all the hotels up here are booked, and just like the Safeway right by my house is like empty, and it's like, I got some meat. I bought half a cow, and I have those chickens in the freezer in the garage, but if I lost power, like I don't have a generator. I don't have like a ton of drinking water. It's all stuff like that. I got a lot of bullets. I got a lot of stuff that the bullets go in. But like, I'd rather have stuff to protect than have to go out and find it.
Words from a mother-in-law. Get a generator.
Okay, you could buy me one if you want.
I even have a generator. Well, I've got the two Yamahas that you can hook together and actually make a 30 amp crossover thing that you hook them. But I mean, that's just for my trailer, and it doesn't do a whole lot for a 50 amp trailer. I mean, I get 2 appliances, if that.
Yeah, I just want one to be able, because I got all that meat. I got 250 pounds of beef in the garage that I don't want to lose. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I was just talking to somebody about this earlier today, is you can probably attest to this, Debra, that we don't really see a whole lot of extreme weather events in our area.
No.
You might get a lot of rain maybe one year, or some bad wind. I think the fires were the worst thing that kind of happens where we're at. But I mean, as far as like natural weather disaster stuff, I mean, we're pretty lucky here.
Really lucky. Yeah, we don't have to shovel snow. We don't have to worry about ice on the roads too much. It's pretty consistent.
But I don't think that it's worth, the cost of living that it costs to live here.
Agreed.
The weather.
Agreed.
Yeah, it is pretty nice though. Like when you're out of it for a while, like you guys get those sneaky weeks where it's like 70 degrees in January. Mm-hmm. You don't get those up here, man. So it's like if it's like 50 degrees and the sun comes out for a couple hours one day, you're like pretty stoked. So, but like when it's nice here, it's as nice as it gets. So we've been thinking about getting out of here, trying to get away from the city even more, and possibly to another state. And like, I really don't. I love it. I love the Pacific Northwest. I want to stay here, but it's getting harder and harder. And people like me, I don't think are going to be that welcome here for that much longer. So we're weighing out all the options.
Yeah, it's weird, man. The kind of what we're in right now. As far as the division and what's pushing it, and kind of the catalysts that are popping up. I remember Sam said something the other day, or did a tweet the other day about the next false flag event. It's going to happen. I think he's right. I think it's close. It's getting close.
Yeah. What do you think what was he saying that the next false flag is going to be? He doesn't know, just that one's coming.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was around something about the guns.
Yeah.
What they're planning on doing with the guns and stuff.
Domestic terrorism and all that bullshit.
Yeah, because I mean, if by their definition, because you and I talk about the things that we talk about, we would be considered domestic terrorists.
Yeah, we commit thought crime on the record,
Yeah, and even though I talk about a lot of other stuff that is not relevant to that, and has more to do with personal development and fixing yourself and being accountable and things like that. I just don't think it's just really crazy because I even catch myself now like self-censoring.
Yeah. On the air or just around people? Yeah. Yeah. I haven't been. I probably should. I don't know why, we're all on lists. So, we'll see what happens, man. Like, I don't know. I think I'm prime candidate for re-education camps. So I don't know. I don't think it's, I don't know if anybody's going to come get me, but I think, it's just going to be harder for people like us to get around in our day-to-day lives. And, I'm not stoked on, getting, experimental medicine stuck in my arm. So, that, maybe some other states will be more kind to people like me. And like, I wish it could just be like, okay, Oregon, Washington, California, they say, hey, these are our values, And it sucks. I hate lumping Oregon in with Portland because most of Oregon isn't Portland. You get outside the city limits and it's a whole different ball game. It's kind of like in the Bay Area, like going through the Caldecott Tunnel. Like it's a whole separate thing once you get out, especially like, you get out far, Contra Costa County, or out in the Delta where you are, Sacramento. But, yeah, I wish they could just come up with a set of values and say, hey, this is what we're all about. If you don't like it, go to a place that has it, So, I'm a big advocate of state secession, and just, I think it's the only way to peacefully coexist anymore, because I don't think you're going to get somebody with that values. I could say like the values of someone that lives in Portland and the values of somebody that lives in Alabama. They're never gonna figure it out. But you can, like, it's even closer than that. It's like someone that lives in 30 miles outside of Portland and somebody in Portland aren't gonna agree on anything, So, I'm open to like all those suggestions, and that's like the one thing that I get excited about and hopeful for these days, politically. So.
Yeah, I don't know. It's all just confusing to me, honestly.
Yeah.
Especially when you're trying to, I've got my nose in a show, trying to, start a nonprofit and all this other stuff that's, that I've got going on. I just like, I try not to, I don't know. I don't even know what
paint yourself in a corner.
Yeah. I guess that's what you would say. I'm careful about how I word things now. If I even word them at all, just for the simple reason is that, people love to go into your old episodes and bring up things that you were talking about, even though everybody knows that, if you're the same person you were last year today, then you're not doing life right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not learning, because when I go back and listen to some of those older episodes that I've done, I'm like, oh my God, did I really think like that? And that has nothing to do like with alternative media, just like thoughts that come out of my own head, like, did I really say that? And what was I thinking?
Yeah, I haven't been on Facebook in a while, but like especially like right after I got sober, like I don't know how they do Facebook, how it operates anymore, but I remember they used to be like, "This is what you said 4 years ago," and I'd be like, "Oh, geez, man, that's really not a great thing to like put out in public." And I thought that was a good idea, and people would think that that was a cool thing that I said that. It's just like, wow. I'm glad I don't have to look at that stuff anymore. And like, as far as the podcast goes, I'm nervous. I don't even want to go back and listen to our first episode because it was pretty bad. But I mean, we're still struggling to like figure out how to interview people and like get rid of like these weird, awkward silences. But I think that's kind of what's good with our show is that it's like kind of raw and you're seeing like people disagree and agree and do all this stuff and go on this crazy journey in like real time. So I think a lot of people out in the world are like, families are split, and I think I'm done talking to I'm not done talking to my family, but I'm done like having any sort of like controversial discussions with my family about anything because it's never going to go anywhere and it's just going to end badly. And I think a lot of people are still interested in doing that with their family. And I think our show is interesting to them because of that. So
yeah, no, it definitely is. And you're right about the division in between the families. Mine's the same way. They're just, and you can't really, there's just a certain, I guess, population of people that, unless it's on the television, they're not going to believe it at all. Doesn't matter what you show them. Doesn't matter what you put in front of them. If it doesn't come out of that television, it's not real.
When I noticed that the most, and I was like, oh no, my mom's gone, was, do you remember right when John McCain got real sick and was about to die? I think they took care of him, but all these liberal news outlets, CNN and MSNBC and all this stuff, were talking about how great a man John McCain had been and like what a great American patriot had been. But he's like, if you're like a really a left winger, you should hate John McCain. He's the worst war hawk of them all, and just never saw war that he didn't vote for, and just is a blood-soaked monster with the blood of millions of little brown babies all over him. And but I saw that, and then I went. My parents live in a gated community in Palm Springs. I went down and visited my mom, and like right out the gate, she started, saying what a great man John McCain had been. I'm like, what? My mom was like a lifelong Democrat, probably in the same ilk as Debra had been, like a bleeding heart liberal. I think she voted for Jesse Jackson and stuff in the 80s, So, and that's when I was like, oh, she's just saying stuff that's on TV, and also when Michelle Obama and Barack and George Bush were like best friends. Remember when that started happening? And like everyone, George Bush was the first Donald Trump. Like everybody on the left hated George Bush. Did you hate George Bush, Debra?
Yeah.
Yeah. You had good reason to. but as soon as then he's like best friends with, he's dancing on Ellen. He's best friends with Michelle Obama. He's painting pictures.
Yeah, now
of,
he's this, sweet old grandpa guy.
He's the sweetheart of the liberals now, and like that's just like a PR campaign that they did, and like it's just they showed that, and then everybody loves him. It's crazy.
Have you seen that movie, that documentary, Hillary's America?
Is it that Indian guy's that, what's his name?
I don't remember what his name is. I can look it up.
Is it Dinesh D'Souza?
Yeah, it is.
I started watching it a long time ago, and then I was like, oh, this is going to be just like way too partisan on the other side. But I'll give it another shot. How was it?
Well, it kind of went through and showed the Democratic Party where it came from, the inception of it, and how it's sort of flipped through the years. Because there used to be the KKK was a big part of the Democratic Party.
Well, yeah, you got that guy Robert Byrd, who was a Klansman. He was like the governor from I forget which state, like South Carolina or something. And that's who Joe Biden quotes as being his mentor, and Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton, I think it was Hillary Clinton, eulogized him at his funeral in 2010. He'd been a Klan member, a Klan, like a leader. It was funny, like somebody like put a post up that said like Joe Biden supported, like the grand Cyclops of the KKK, Robert Byrd, and then it got fact checked, and it was like Robert Byrd was never the Grand Cyclops; he was Grand Dragon.
Yeah, but I mean, just it's we don't know that stuff, right? And I mean, that was a documentary, and I don't know, it was on not on Netflix, it's on Prime. You can't get it anywhere. You had to pay like $3.99 for it. And so it was just crazy to see all of that and how it kind of worked. And I was just like, oh, wow, man, I never would have thought. And so the Democratic Party was actually the party of the racist party all along. And it kind of shows how it still is. Yeah. Because everything that they try to pass, like anything that's good for the people, the Democrats are always the ones that are trying to stall it. Or vote against it.
Yeah. And like all the handout programs are all they're kind of just guilty of racism by low expectations, like true white supremacy, like thinking that they're like that black and brown people need them to take care of them like they're their parents, and that's like real racism to me, So
yeah, no,
but
sure.
Yeah, remember when the Democrats were the anti-war party?
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Well, they're neocons now, right? Is that
what
they all are?
I mean, they've always been, but yeah. So,
but if you were going to put a real label on them, then they're all like neocons, and they're all for war and everything else. The military industrial complex. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right, so we're at about 7:42, so we got about 5 more minutes here before we're going to wrap it up. So what are some of the good guests that are on your show? I mean, all of our guests that we have on our show are all good, but what are some of the highlights that you've had on?
Well, for me, I think our 6th episode, we got Charlie Robinson, and that was like a really big deal to me. I think he was our first big name guest, and he just went off for about 2 hours, like made it really easy for me, just talked. And made Debra feel sick to her stomach by all the truth that he dropped on her. That's if you want to start, if you haven't heard of our show yet, go watch that one on YouTube. You can see it on YouTube on our channel, or listen to it. They're both good, but like watching Debra's facial expressions when he's talking about some really messed up stuff is pretty funny. I don't know. We did. We're on episode 33 this weekend, so What's the ones that stood out for you, Deborah?
Dean Reiner and Monica Perez, just because I can't believe the facts that she can hold on to in her head. And but I love the ones where we've gone kind of into more not so much on the political vein, but more like we're kind of working towards going into some occult stuff, and like the flat earth stuff is really interesting to me. Tartaria, definitely. And we're going to be talking about Antarctica coming up pretty soon, aren't we? Isn't that coming up?
We're talking about Tartaria again. I want to get another Antarctica person on, but we'll see. But yeah, I mean, just like everybody, we're burnt out on COVID and geopolitics and stuff. So I kind of wanted to, I still want to do that stuff, but I wanted to steer the show into like ancient mysteries and looking into like stuff like that too. But then some of the episodes that I've been like the most proud of, I think the episodes that I'm the most proud of are like the ones where it's just Debra and I solo. And like I remember we had like a pretty big name that was supposed to come on, and they just no call, no showed on us. And I was like, well, we're both here, and we did like an hour and a half, and it was like a really good feeling that we were that far along. It's hard to talk to somebody for an hour and a half while you're on record, and we did it, and it was really good, and people loved it and got like good response from it. So those are the ones that I like the best.
Awesome, man. Well, that's really cool, man. And I know what you're talking about. It is difficult to carry on a solo type of thing, or just to like know what direction that you're going to go and be entertaining at the same time and be able to capture people's attention. You have a book suggestion, Anthem by Ayn Rand.
Ayn Rand, my favorite book of all time. But thanks.
Anthem is your favorite?
Yeah,
wow.
It was written in 1938, and if you read it right now, you'll be like, wow, that should have been written like next month. It's a perfect vision of what the future is. It's 100 pages long. Everybody should read it. It's amazing. You can go on YouTube, and they've made it into like a graphic novel, and they have every chapter as a different video on YouTube, so you can do the whole book that way too. It's rad. I love it. It's so good.
I'll have to check it out.
It's a white pill. It's a dystopian future with a white pill. If you like 1984, you can tell Orwell read Anthem and then wrote 1984.
Okay, awesome. I'll have to check it out. I'm not a big book reader, but I'll.
100 pages, man.
Yeah, 100 pages isn't a lot to get through.
Yeah.
And then the podcast suggestions, you gave Tinfoil Hat with Sam Tripoli, and he's got two other people on his show, Xavier Guerrera, and I believe there's another
Johnny Woodard.
Yeah. We found each other actually starting through the Tinfoil Hat podcast, because you, Truthzilla, myself, I think we all kind of started there and then made our way to the Union of the Unwanted, and then from the Union of the Unwanted, we connected with each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty cool when podcasts kind of work that way, right? Where you never kind of know where it's going to take you.
Yeah, that's why I listed these two podcasts, is because, they may not, I still love listening to both of them, but they're what led me. Tinfoil Hat led me everywhere that I go conspiratorial in some way is connected back to that. And then part of the problem has shaped me in politically and how I am now. So,
and also too, Sam's show, it's not just about conspiracies. I mean, he talks about a lot of the stuff you do too, or that you want to get into, like ancient civilizations. He's got a lot of odd guests on his show that talk about very niche parts of the occult and ancient civilizations and giants and name it, he's probably talked about it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, awesome, man. So let's, we got a couple more questions here or comments. Final words. Everybody throw out your Teflon pans and get cast iron.
Yeah. Done.
My friend Maria. Hey, Sean. You know how it's real talk when nobody shows up. Sean, most underrated podcast 2021. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. So yeah, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you? I've got pretty much everything listed for you in the show notes in the description, but go ahead and say them anyways.
Yeah, I mean, Debra Gets Red Pilled on most podcast players that are out there, iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, all that stuff. So, and then hit us on Twitter, and you can email us at debragetsredpilled@protonmail.com. Check us out. Give us listen to a couple episodes. They're entertaining. So.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I love the show. It's a really great dynamic, and the guests that Adam and Debra get on the show are definitely top notch in their respective genres and niches. So I would very much suggest checking their shows out. We got them over on Spotify. We got them on iTunes here. Like I said, all of this stuff is going to be available in the show notes and in the description. And so we're going to go ahead and sign this off. Any last words?
Thank you. Thanks for having us on.
Thanks so much for having us, Sean.
It's really nice.
Let's talk soon. I've got some stuff in the works for some other stuff I want to do and maybe include you. So I'll hit you up.
And I want to get caught up on your the work that you're doing, your nonprofit work that you were talking about before. I'd really love to get caught up on that.
Yeah, for sure. You can hit me up anytime, Debra. Adam, my phone number is on the email.
Yeah, I got it.
I'll let you know what's going on because things are progressing. I got a board meeting tomorrow.
Awesome.
Are you doing it in the Bay?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so great.
You could go volunteer, Debra.
Yeah. So I mean, I've actually narrowed it down. I was going to do men coming out of incarceration, but after doing my market research and talking to probation and all the different people that I've talked to, transitional age youth, 18 to 24 is what the need is because California Youth Authority is going to be shutting its doors in 2025. And in July of this year, there'll no longer be sentencing people there. So there's going to be a bridge a gap that needs to be bridged. And community-based organizations are going to be pretty much what they're going to be looking at. And all of that funding, when they do shut it down, is going to be going back to the communities for disbursement and mitigation.
Nice.
So, yeah, a long answer, but, yeah, I've been working really hard and trying to figure out all the pieces and what to do. And, because I didn't know, like, when we talked in December, I was like, I got this thing and I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
You had just come back from Arizona, was it?
Utah.
Utah.
Yeah. So it's good stuff. So let's definitely keep in touch and continue doing what we're doing and trying to give truth to people and spread kindness and love.
You got it, man. You do the same, bro. I really appreciate you having us here.
Yeah. Thanks again. I'm gonna go ahead and pull you guys out and sign this off. And,
okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. So, we've got another live stream for you coming up at 8:00. That's going to be with the director of a documentary called Vanishing of the Bees. That is Miriam Hanen. And until then, I will be right back. And thanks for checking out the show and thanks for following. I appreciate all of you.
You've been listening to the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast. Sean is a single dad, a union blue-collar guy, and he spent time in federal and state prison for drug trafficking and fraud. When he was released from prison in 2006, all he had was the clothes on his back, a bag of mail, and some paperwork. Since then, he's turned his life around and shares the struggles and successes on this podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we hope you were moved. To connect to the show, book a guest spot. For merch, Patreon, PayPal, and social media links, go to linktr.ee/nowhere to go but up.
On Instagram at Nowhere to Go But Up Now. On Twitter at But Up Now. On the YouTube channel at Nowhere to Go But Up Podcast.
See you next time.